Hey, Startup Nation. Imagine a job where you can work wherever you want, on whatever you want, from wherever you want. Hello to white sand beaches of Thailand or the comfort of your own couch. Oh, and most importantly, you're your own boss. Now, what if I told you that the dream job could become your reality? This is the life of a freelancer, and with some hard work and with the help of Hectic, it can be your life too. Hectic is an all-in-one business management software built specifically for freelancers who are just getting started or looking to take their freelance business to the next level. Hectic is everything a freelancer needs to get started, from an easy-to-use contracts and proposal builder to client management and project tracking to expenses and invoicing that features click-to-play technology that makes it quick and easy for freelancers to get paid. And we all want to get paid, Startup Nation. Built specifically for freelancers, Hectic is everything you need to get started. Visit gethecticapp.com/the startup life now to learn more and start for free. Yep. Adding your first client on the platform will always be free. And if you sign up through gethecticapp.com/the startup life, you'll be supporting me and this podcast, because who couldn't use a little support these days, Startup Nation? Visit gethecticapp.com/the startup life to find everything you need to start or grow your freelancing business today, and put those in-demand skills to good use in the way you've always dreamed of. The link is there in the show notes.
It's time to be about that life, the startup life. Here's your host, Dominic Lawson.
All right, Startup Nation. So I hope you're ready to receive some value today. My name is Dominic Lawson, and this is the Startup Life, the show for entrepreneurs and career-minded professionals. Startup Nation, as we grow our businesses, we're definitely just trying to get the ball rolling and stuff like that. But how do we get to that echelon of being a millionaire and taking that business to the next level? Well, Startup Nation, you'll have to know that I have a fantastic and a perfect guest to do just that. He is regarded as America's revenue growth architect. He is the founder and president of Revenue Growth Company, LLC. And he is also the author of Entrepreneur to Millionaire: How to Build a Highly Profitable, Fast Growth Company and Become Embarrassingly Rich Doing It. He is the one and only Kent Billingsley. Kent, how are you, good sir?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
All right. I am living a dream. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And we're definitely going to, dive into the book deeply here in just a second. But if you would, Kent, just kind of share, we just, it's a new year, it's 2021, but 2020 was definitely one for the record books, in good or bad ways, depending on how you look at it. Just really quickly, what are some lessons you took away from 2020, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so I've actually been in business 40 years. And so once or twice a decade, there's a market anomaly, there's a market crisis, there's a market event. There are things that just absolutely disrupt and destroy businesses. And, it's interesting, that's similar to the pandemic. And so we're still not out of it yet at this point in time in history, but we're working our way through it. And, some events are quick hits, others are long-term events. And so the big lesson that, I had to take out of it too, I run several businesses and everyone I work with, entrepreneurs to CEOs, is you've got to learn how to make money in the good times to help get you through the bad times. And there are a lot of companies right now that are being wiped out, that couldn't survive, that couldn't make it. And that's because they didn't understand how to make money they could keep, how to create wealth with their business when things were really good up until March of about last year. So that's the one lesson that I hope they'll take. The other one I hope is that you have to change, you have to adapt, and
right.
You have to see these things and say, oh, wow, this is a catastrophe. Okay, I wasn't ready for this one, but I was prepared for something. But now I also have to adapt, because a lot of the models, the paradigms, the philosophies that worked up until last year are not going to work moving forward. And if you don't change, then you're not going to be able to survive or thrive.
For sure. Thank you for sharing. And it's definitely something we can definitely take and put our entrepreneurial toolkit, Startup Nation, for sure. Once again, Startup Nation, that book that we're going to talk about is Entrepreneur to Millionaire. And Ken, I want to ask you this because, in the book, I thought it was something that was interesting. And you have, phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And phase 1 is revenue ready and phase 2 is market ready. What's the difference between those two? Talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, and so let me first give you kind of a context
Sure.
of what things are. In most cases, entrepreneurs, business owners, leaders, somebody starting a business, they go from, I've got a product or service, and they go right into phase 3, which is go to market. And they start marketing and selling and trying to earn money and trying to turn their concepts into cash. Well, that would be no different than a country deciding just to go into war with no preparation, no design, no strategy, no training, no development, no readiness to go into war and win it, but just going into war and battle and accepting all the carnage that comes with it. And so I've spent probably close to 20 years helping companies understand that you might be in go-to-market, and you might have products and services, and you might have been around for 20 years, but you were never market ready. And in many cases, you weren't even revenue ready. And the difference is revenue ready. 3 of the most core principles of being revenue ready is answering the question, the acid test question, are you really solving a marketplace problem, what I call an FMP? Are you really solving a fundamental marketplace problem, or are you just trying to exploit an opportunity, or are you just trying to start a business, or are you just trying to make money? Is it all about you, or is it about the market? And I have to tell you, in many cases, most cases, the owners, the business people, even the leadership team, they're not really clear on what they're doing or why they're doing it. And even if they are, they don't have a great angle to it to solve the problem in a unique or different way. And so the next principle, if you identify a marketplace problem to solve, the next principle that you've got to understand and execute is, what's the right business model that will solve that problem better or differently or faster or more cost effectively than anybody else? Because if you're trying to play the Me Too game and you're trying to be like everybody else, and let's say you want to open up a sandwich shop, or you want to open up a consulting business, or you want to do podcasting, you can't be Me Too today.
Right.
You've got to bring something different to the table, something exciting, something of value, something that's unique, or nobody's going to give you any real money to do it. You might make some money, you might run a business, but you're never going to achieve those embarrassing riches that are possible if you could come at it from a different angle. In the book, I actually use 4 examples in the pizza industry and how different industries have attacked the pizza problem differently and made fortunes, billions of dollars doing it. The third principle in revenue ready is, after you identify a fundamental marketplace problem to solve, and you create the right model, the right business model, digital, non-digital, brick and mortar, whatever that mix is to solve it. The third one is, now how are you going to make money doing it? And that third principle is, now what are your revenue streams? How do you generate cash flow? How do you identify ways to make money to satisfy and then verify and validate that your business really is revenue ready? And by that I mean, is it ready to make all the money, sales, revenue, and profits that it could and should in the marketplace, where you want to attack and where you want to grow business? Now that's revenue ready. And so the answer to your question, what is market ready? Well, market ready comes along and says, and here are the really 4 core principles in this phase of optimizing your wealth. Mm-hmm. This principle is saying, now, who exactly and specifically is your target market? Because when you try and be all things to all people, you're nothing to no one. And you're not going to make big money. You're not going to create serious wealth if you don't absolutely understand who your target market is. And I'll just real quickly tell you, that's a combination of demographics, psychographics, and characteristics. And you've got to wire those together, because your target audience sets every other decision in place. It literally sets up every strategy or direction or path you must take from there on out. The second principle in market ready now is, from your targeting, now do you go into your packaging? what's the right mix of products and services, and how should those be assembled, and how should those be delivered in your model to bring the most value to your clients and help you generate the most revenue, cash, and income possible. From there, we go from targeting, packaging, we go to messaging. How are you going to craft language? How are you going to create the symbols, the messages, oral or written type tools that are going to get the word out to get people excited about the package that connects directly to your target audience? And then the fourth principle, real quick, is all about pricing strategies. Instead of just doing the classic cost plus, what it costs to run this business, I'll add 20%, you really need to have multiple prices from free to very expensive. You should offer a range of prices to engage early, to attract often, and then retain your clients forever. So that's really the mix of concepts and principles that are in those two phases.
Gotcha. And I appreciate that because, a lot of times we have books and we have concepts and stuff like that people kind of put out there for people and entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs to read. And, it takes a kind of a macro level, but this book, Startup Nation, really does go into the weeds, into that micro level. And it really creates and helps you create a process for your business and really elevating your business to get to that millionaire place you want to, millionaire place you want to get to, for yourself and your business and stuff like that. And I really appreciate that. Once again, Startup Nation, that book is Entrepreneur to Millionaire: How to Build a Highly Profitable, Fast Growth Company and Become Embarrassingly Rich Doing it. And if you're ready to purchase that book, Startup Nation, we have a link there in the show notes for easy access if you listen to the replay on the podcast, because that book is out today. Hey, Kit, I want to ask you something. Speaking of like a process and stuff like that, you have a chapter where you talk about the sales conversion system, and you kind of open up with a story about getting coffee. Well, somebody demanding to sit down and have coffee with you, and kind of going through his process of going through salespeople in his company. Kind of talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll never forget that meeting. I'd known this guy for quite a while. I had been sponsoring an entrepreneur organization, about 150 different entrepreneurs and business owners, and we had met from time to time. I think he'd come to some of my workshops or heard me give speeches. And he finally, called me and said, "Hey, I got to meet." And we sat down and talked and discussed really the whole situation he'd been in. And here, it's a classic case of a really good company, really great products and services, but he was just burning through sales resources. His turnover rates were extremely high, and like most industries, every 1 to 2 years had an absolutely brand new sales force. And I ended up asking him, "How many people have you burned through on the sales side?" He said about 50.
Wow.
And on the back of a napkin, I just calculated out what their quotas were and what they should have been generating, and it was millions and millions and billions of dollars.
Right.
And that's so classic that the business owner goes, "Well, I could just find one. I'm just going to have to burn through a lot of people to get that one great salesperson." And that's just the cost of doing business and all that. And what I really educated the entrepreneur on and the CEO was that you have to understand the time that you're burning. You have to understand the brand that you're destroying. And every time you add a salesperson, whether they make it or not, you've added 8 categories of costs, which another way to say that is you've eaten 8 categories of profits trying to get to that one individual who's eventually going to make quota or help you sell your business. And that was jaw-dropping for him. And that's jaw-dropping for a lot of people because they don't really understand the cost and damage that we do when we burn through or rotate people in any department, whether it's operations, support, or marketing. And so that story really sets up, I hope, for people that sales department, your organization, is really a system, and your people are a part of that system. And if you're not revenue ready, market ready, and you haven't designed a great sales system, 98% of first sales hires will fail, and the second one, the percentage isn't much better. And that means your whole business, the future of a business, rests on sales and is then resting on the shoulders of salespeople. And if that is failing, your business is going to fail. And Dominic, I want to pick up one more point because you said it, and you really picked up on this. It's really important, and thank you. When I was writing this book, and I spent 15 years validating the book. It didn't take me 15 years to write it. It took me 15 years to apply the principles in several thousand companies all over the world. And I didn't feel anybody needed more tips and tricks, and nobody needed more personal stories of how they became millionaires and things like that. What they really needed was a roadmap.
Right.
They didn't need another book, because there's so many books out there and there's so many speakers, but they needed a roadmap that said, if I'm here, where should I go next?
Right.
And not a roadmap to run a business or start a business or even grow a business, but a roadmap on how do I create wealth inside my business? How do I generate the most sales, revenue, and profits, and use the fewest resources, the least amount of people, and the shortest amount of time getting there?
Right.
And that's what this roadmap is all about. Because it's just fascinating right now that for some people, the word millionaire or being a millionaire can kind of be a turnoff. And all I'm saying in the book is, how do you go from being an entrepreneur to having 7 figures in your bank account that could get you through almost the worst times for a long period of time?
Right.
And you think about 10 to 20,000 businesses that have closed in the last 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
And if those entrepreneurs and business owners had 7 figures sitting in the bank account that they didn't have to touch until the bad times hit, they could go 6 months, 12 months. They could still be alive today, and they could still be prospering or ready for the markets to turn back or change back. And so what I'm trying to get across to people is, here's a roadmap on how to create wealth that can either allow you to retire, can allow you to have more working capital, allow you to expand, but most importantly, protect you and have you ready for those tough times. And you really picked up on that, seeing that it is a roadmap. It's a set of phases and principles to create wealth, not just start, grow, and run a business, because there's 1,000 books on that subject. But I couldn't find any, and I've been starting businesses for 40 years. I couldn't find anything written that told me how to make money with a business.
Right.
I found a lot of books that told me how to run a business, how to streamline a business, and how to do different things in business. But nothing ever taught me how to create wealth, and that's what that roadmap's all about.
Gotcha. And Startup Nation, that's why I think you should have Entrepreneur to Millionaire in your toolkit, because when you're reading the book, it really is like when you go to the mall and you say you are here and you're trying to figure out where to go. It really is one of those type of road maps and guide maps. So I definitely think you should put that in your entrepreneurial toolkit. And also, just kind of to add to what you said, Ken, one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on the show is because, not just because of the book, but some of the things that you said. Look, a lot of businesses closed the past 6 months, 12 months and stuff like that. And books like these are not only for the standpoint of like how to get somebody like more money in their pocket, but to keep their businesses open, because look, not all entrepreneurs are in the business of necessarily just lining their pockets. A lot of them are trying to help people. You talk about the F&P earlier, and a lot of people who depend on certain businesses in certain parts of the country, or the world for that matter, are hurting as well, because that 7 figures wasn't in the bank account to keep them open. So I appreciate you saying all of that, Kent.
Well, and absolutely, and it's saddening that 1 million people have lost their jobs,
right?
And that impacts 1 million families. But you're absolutely right. There have been thousands and who knows the number of really good services and really wonderful products that are going to go away or go out of existence. I mean, in my small town I live in, I know we lost a couple of really good restaurants that we already missed. And they employ 20, 30, 40 people. And then the vendors and suppliers that provided things to those restaurants. And so, the damage is really horrific. And so I never wanted this book to be about money. But here's the issue. If you don't make money, every problem in business is money.
Right.
And so I've wanted to come along and say, you know what, let me help you solve the toughest challenge there is in business. And that's converting your products and services into cash, clients, and contracts fast enough that you can have a successful business and bring those offerings to the market and provide those or provide your employees with jobs, and then do that again and again and again. And I think I share a few stories in there where I've had clients they're now starting their third and fourth companies after they retired from their first company and walked away with millions. They're now starting their third, their fourth, and they're bringing more wonderful ways to solve problems to the marketplace. Everybody wins, in my opinion, in that world, and that's the world I'm trying to create. And at the same time, I hope you found the book not to be hyped up and get people excited. Oh, you could do it if you have enough persistence, and if you're willing to fail, and if you have a passion. And I mean, there's so much hype and fluff that's out there today, and I have to be honest, I think it's crap.
Right.
Business is ruthless. It's tough. It's cutthroat. And I know people that don't have any personality and they're wildly successful. I know other people that are so passionate and they can never make a dollar. And it's back to, do you have a methodology? Do you have a process? And are you doing it? And here's the other thing that's really, really important. I hope a message you can get out to your audience is you got to have your whole team engaged on this.
Right.
One of the things I've been seeing in the practice the last 5 years or so that's really been astonishing is having the entrepreneur, the CEO that is just so enamored and so engaged and so wired into absolutely. We want to know how to deliver the greatest value in the world and get paid doing it. But their people aren't on the same side. Their people aren't in the same boat, whether it's in sales or marketing or operations, delivery. The employees are resistant or they push back. And in many cases, it's because the employee doesn't understand the direction and the path and the roadmap. And so one of the things I require working with companies today, I go, are all your key people involved? Do they understand what we're doing? Do they understand the language and why we're doing what we're doing and how it's going to help them? Because another major point that's in the book of Entrepreneur to Millionaire is if I want everybody in the company to become a millionaire. I took great pride in the last corporation I helped run. I took great pride. A lot of my employees became millionaires within a year. And then eventually when we sold the firm to IBM, hundreds of people became millionaires and multimillionaires. And I took great pride in making sure my team and my employees, whether it's in a year or over a period of time, had plenty of money to retire on or do whatever they want. And I can't believe how many CEOs and executives, well, I don't want my people to be too rich, or I don't want my salespeople to make too much money because they'll leave. What I found was most people won't leave, and then you end up attracting the best of the best. And as I run companies, I've had the competitors' top people come to me and say, "Can I hire on with you?" And so I didn't have a retention problem, and I didn't have an attraction problem for talent that most companies have today, because they knew if you come work for me and be part of the system and you follow the path that we're going to deliver a value that blows our clients' minds, and they're going to pay us amazing money to do it, everybody wins.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It reminds me, you were saying earlier about having, the processes and the methods and stuff like that. It reminds me of a Les Brown quote. There's not a secret to success. There's a system to success. Yep. And your book definitely speaks to that, because your book reads a lot like a textbook. Right. It's not really a lot of exactly. It has if this happens, do this, this is the process. And you really do talk about a lot about everybody has to have that buy-in. That part is super important, because it goes back to that story you were just saying earlier. Once again, Startup Nation, we're actually wrapping up with Kent Billingsley, the founder and president of Revenue Growth Company. And you want to check out his company website. We have that link there in the show notes for easy access if you listen to replay on the podcast. And also make sure you pick up Entrepreneur to Millionaire. That book is out now, Startup Nation. That link is also there in the show notes as well. Kent, I want to ask you one last question before I let you go. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. Because I was on your website, and I know you on your website, on your blog, you talked about Ross Perot. As a political junkie as a kid, I remember Ross Perot, having those big primetime specials, kind of laying out, a way forward for the country and stuff like that. Big time businessman and philanthropist. Just kind of talk about what it was like, what you learned from Ross Perot and stuff like that you even implement to this day.
Yeah, I think, and it sounds like you read one of my blogs, and for the first time I met him and working for him, and I actually went to work I seek the company out because of Ross Perot, probably, well, the greatest leader, and I give acknowledgments, the greatest leader I've ever worked for and ever known, and truly entrepreneurial, and became a multi-billionaire from being an entrepreneur. So you can go from millionaire to billionaire in following the right roadmap, and that's what he did. But his message to me, we met in the hall one day, his message to me was, Kent, never focus on the money, but focus on solving the problem. Focus on what's broken out there and how best to fix it. And that really became the cornerstone of the first chapter in the phase of Revenue Ready. What's broken, why, and how can you fix it better than anybody else, and stay focused on that. And that's again why I encourage people to buy this book for everybody in their company. Everybody read this and live this and follow this. And not only can it help you where you are right now, but help prepare you for the future as you need to adapt, you need to change, you need to transform to continue to create wealth inside your company as time goes by and different events come by. But Ross died a while back, a year ago, and really sad because just he was one of the greatest leaders I'd ever met and ever known. And I encourage anyone to read books about him and learn his ways of how he treated people, and he walked, and you would just be willing to walk through walls to work for him because of that authentic, sincere, powerful leadership.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that and sharing that story about Ross and stuff like that. Thank you so much. And that's going to wrap up this session, Startup Nation, of the Startup Life. We want to once again thank Kent Billingsley. And again, the book is Entrepreneur to Millionaire: How to Build a Highly Profitable, Fast Growth Company and Become Embarrassingly Rich Doing It. Kent, thank you so much, my man.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I certainly enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And as always, Startup Nation, if you have an idea, be about that life, the Startup Life. If you want to let us know what you think about our show, have an idea for a show topic, or would like to advertise on our show, send us a message on the Startup Life Podcast Facebook page. And while you are there, like and follow our page as well. It's a great way for us to engage with you, Startup Nation, and really grow our community. The link is there in the show notes. Subscribe to the show as it can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, or even on your Facebook timeline or any other platform you like to get your podcast. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and you find our content valuable, please give us a 5-star rating, as it will help us climb the charts and help more people find our show. You can also listen to the show on the Startup Life Podcast new website. There you will find the all-new startup blog where I write on many topics that are interesting and helpful to you on your path to entrepreneurship. And hey, if you have an idea, be about that life, the Startup Life.